everybody, thanks for hanging out with me today. Okay, so remember how I said I was struggling to keep from overcomplicating these prompts and making them into huge projects, but somehow I was succeeding in keeping myself from doing that? Well, I failed today. Thus, I present to you prompt 10, pattern in the form of an attempted 3D mandala. I was just going to make another mandala because the first one was simple and easy, but I saw some 3D ones and I thought, oh, I must try this. And I thought, too, that I'm not going to learn anything if I don't push myself and reach for the stars. And if I fail, then I can share what I learned with people. So today I'm going to share what I learned. And honestly, it all boils down to two things: having the right materials and giving yourself enough time to accomplish said piece. So, in my defense, I thought it was going to be a lot more straightforward and achievable, but I quickly realized I was in over my head when I was failing to make perfect circles with my pen. I have a compass, but my pens do not fit in it, and I didn't have time to jerry-rig some homemade compass. So I tried to freehand those circles over the pencil ones that I made earlier, and let me tell you, my freehand circles need some work. But that's okay, because I just got some practice. I also found myself really struggling to keep this piece neat once I introduced the Copic sketch markers for shading. It just went all over, it bled into other spots, and I felt like my brush marks were way too big. It felt like I had no control, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why in that moment. What was I doing wrong? Besides rushing. Well, silly me didn't figure it out until the next day that my markers were just too big for such small detail work. It would have made a big difference had I used smaller markers. It would have been neater and easier to control in those tiny mandala shapes and edges. But I used what I had in the moment, and it's a great example of what someone less practiced in Copic sketch markers can achieve when working in small spaces. But, I'm sure there's people who could have made it work, but for beginners or less practiced people, I think smaller markers would have helped a lot. Particularly the mandala on top underneath the moon one. I made these tiny little shapes with a cool stencil I found that I had, and my big markers kinda made a mess out of them, and they sort of disappeared. Because I was rushing to shade them in with my chunky markers. I love my chunky brush tip markers, but I did not use them wisely, and I rushed. Which brings me to my second point. I rushed again! And I know I talked about not letting yourself rush before, but I have to bring it up again because this time it wasn't only just because I was short on time, but I was frustrated. And my frustration shows through in the lack of neatness in my art. It's important to stay calm when working on something so technically demanding. If you're getting flustered or annoyed, just walk away and cool down. You want to enjoy drawing, not make it into something stressful and unfun. But you have to allow yourself the time to do that, and I did not. So in that sense, I set myself up for failure, once again, and I made this whole mandala into an unfun chore instead of a fun new experiment to learn from. It worked out in the end though, because I can share my failures with the world, and hopefully it will help some people out. So keep in mind to make sure you have the right supplies for the type of project you're going to tackle. In this case, my mandala, I needed a protractor, a ruler, and a compass, and more specifically a compass for my Copic pens, which maybe I can find one, maybe I'll make one. And smaller markers for shading, which I obviously didn't have. And like I said before, I'm sure there's more practiced people who could have made it work, and I'm sure that if I was more relaxed and I had more time, I could have made it work too. And to also make sure to give yourself the time to accomplish your art. Don't procrastinate a project for school or, a commission. Or time yourself at home if it's just something for yourself to finish a big, beautiful artwork in 1 hour or something really unrealistic. Give yourself time to breathe, if needed, and tackle any arty obstacles that might come up. It'll make the whole process a lot more enjoyable and manageable. With all that in mind, I hope you enjoy watching me push my way through my mandala despite my struggles to make it neat. Perhaps in the future I will revisit this mandala after Inktober, and I can make it better and neater, and if that's the case, then I will definitely make a video about it, and I can maybe talk about the things that I did differently that helped it turn out better. Oh, and I also kind of wanted to bring up that halfway through making this, I realized that this fit the ring prompt really well. There's a lot of rings in it, and I didn't even think about it. I just thought, ooh, patterns, mandala, repetition, and I was like, oh no. But that's okay, because other people said that it fit, so yeah. And if you think about it too, I could have made the guitar the one work for pattern too, because strum patterns, a little bit of a stretch, but it works, I guess.
this video was helpful and insightful. Thanks for stopping by. I hope to see you again next time, and remember to stay creative. Bye!